Within the Dragon Ball Z, there was one incident that occurred early within the series, then was never mentioned again. The heart virus that killed Goku in Future Trunks' timeline. The very reason why Future Trunks came back in time to change the outcome of the android incident. Without Goku there to help, the Z soldiers would lose the crucial battle against the androids when they first appeared, thus signaling the end of the world, and everything with it until Bulma sent Trunks back to change everything, as he did, and the world was saved. But what exactly was it that affected Goku? It was never officially acknowledged about the reason Goku got infected, the circumstances for the virus, as well as if anyone else might be eligible for infection as well. This Japanimation discussion will be about the heart virus and what it was exactly, or if we can even explain what it was. First will be my own personal observation and thoughts on the virus before information researched from the internet will also be provided for discussion. Personally, I always thought of the heart virus as filler, or some plot device as the main reason why Trunks would come back from the future. It doesn't make that much sense that Goku, one of the greatest martial artists from the planet, would die of something like that. It would naturally have to coincide with Goku's physiology. He is a Saiyajin, which makes sense as a very strong argument for him being affected by the heart virus has to do with the Saiyajin's own physiology and long-term health effects of them residing on other planets, as this is not known due to planet Vegeta and nearly the entire Saiyajin race being exterminated by Frieza. Goku is the only known example of such from that race residing nearly on an alien world for his entire life. It is completely natural that the virus would be something of that world's design which would affect him or could affect him, and symptoms would only manifest later in life as with any fatal or chronic disease. If we consider the Saiyajin physiology different from that of the world Goku adopted and made his home, the beings from that world, it could be nearly anything that would have been the catalyst for infection that killed Goku later in his life. From the food that he ate and drank, to the people that he was in constant contact with, even to the air that he breathed. Since there is no real medical diagnosis for what makes a Saiyajin weak or susceptible to disease, it is literally safe to assume that anything could have been what infected Goku. Personally, I would say that there are two likely scenarios in that Goku could have gotten infected. I base it on Goku being affected as a child and symptoms only began to become visible or apparent later on in his life. From either the air that he breathed or through contact with the native life forms of his adoptive world. A perfect example is that certain types of illnesses are transmitted through airborne means. As well as on this world, as well as in real life, classic diseases was spread through contact with other people, either through sexual or casual contact. If we assume that this is how Goku got infected, it would only be natural that he would show symptoms later on, which he did initially, come out shortly before and during his battle with the androids. Again, on this world, some diseases only manifest during adulthood, which can easily explain why Goku was infected. When Z first started, Goku was in his late teens to early 20s when the series started. By the time of the androids, it could be safe to imagine that he was in his late 20s to mid 30s, using Gohan's appearance and age as a gauge for Goku's own age. As with any disease that is only discovered in its latest stages means certain death due to preventative measures being pointless because treatment has been neglected for so long. It is also fair to assume that Goku died. Bulma must have done an autopsy, or did research on Goku's corpse after his death to come up with an antidote for the virus. So it is very much safe to say that future Bulma might have known more than the others did about the virus due to her own research. It could also be safe to assume that Vegeta might be at risk as well due to being another full-blooded Saiyajin. But he was not on the adoptive homeworld like Goku was for most of his childhood, let alone most of his life. And it is safe to assume that he has just as much risk as Goku, but he would need to spend a similar amount of time on the planet, which he has not. Or unknown factors that could only make it affect Goku, it's impossible to fully, truly imagine. What is possible to imagine is that other theories that viewers, fans, across the internet have discussed. They will be mentioned now. Forest life scenario. This person suggests that Goku got the illness from spending most of his childhood in the wilderness before Bulma met him in Dragon Ball, which was easy to assume that it was anywhere from 11 to 14 years. The person theorizes that Goku got the disease as a child, and it manifested as he got older. Yardat Namek scenario. This person assumes that Goku got infected on either Namek or Yardat due to both worlds being where Goku was lost before the timeline had him being dead from the disease. This person assumes that being on these worlds was how Goku got infected. The person goes further to say that since a vaccine was created, a sample of the actual virus was needed for the vaccine. So Goku's adoptive homeworld is also another possible location. Dr. Giro's nanobot. This person theorizes that Goku was somehow infected by Dr. Giro's nanobots. This is possible because during the Android saga it was mentioned that Dr. Giro had been monitoring Goku since the first World Martial Arts Tournament when he was a child. During the montage scene in the anime, guess what was monitoring him? A small nanobot. Planet-borne disease. A small discussion among a group of people suggests that the disease was actually from the planet itself and not alien. Added to this, anyone is susceptible to it, as people in the discussion pointed out that future Trunks and Piccolo mentioned that it is extraordinarily contagious. Perhaps Goku was one of the first to be infected, his alien chemistry making no difference at all. Kaioken. One person suggested that it might have been the result of using the Kaioken technique too much during his first fight against Vegeta. This is personally interesting that because in the Ocean dub, King Kai does mention that the Kaioken does take an extraordinary amount of fatigue and stress is placed upon the body, so something could have happened to Goku, and Goku just reacted to it later in life. Planet Yardat illness. A person suggests that when Goku first arrived on planet Yardat, they, the indigenous people of the planet, thought that he was an evil alien, as the person points out that Goku arrived in a space pod. My own personal thoughts is that the Saiyajin used the same pods to go to planet to exterminate races, and perhaps they heard of or even saw the pods before. The person goes further and says they somehow infected Goku, but trained him anyway because they knew Goku would die eventually. Bacteria combination. This person theorizes that with all of Goku's travels in outer space, bacteria from a whole host of locations from his adoptive homeworld, Namek, and Yardat could have all combined to form a super disease that might have affected him. Frieza's tail. One interesting comment has it that this person explains that when Goku bit Frieza's tail during their battle, Goku must have been somehow infected from Frieza. The person also mentions that Goku could have been infected by something that Frieza himself was immune to. Future Trunks himself. One person goes as far as saying that Future Trunks himself was a carrier of the virus and unknowingly passed it on to Goku, commenting that this scenario would be very ironic. Healing chamber on Frieza's spaceship. One person comments that Goku got the virus on Namek, but after his body was possessed by Captain Ginyu, as it was badly broken during the fight against him. Once his body was put into the healing chamber on Frieza's ship after he was healed, when Vegeta was also injured and the others suggested that he use the chamber as well. But Vegeta mentions that the settings were different and something was wrong with it. Perhaps this could have been how Goku got infected. Future Trunks changes the timeline. Another person theorizes that Future Trunks changed the timeline when he intervened when Frieza was about to attack Goku's adoptive homeworld. The person theorized that it's a natural disease that the Dragon Balls can't cure, which makes sense as the Z soldiers in Bulma could have wished Goku to be simply brought back to life before the androids destroyed everything. The person also mentions that Goku should have fought Frieza, as he would have naturally gone Super Saiyajin, and his body might have coped better with the transformational stress, because it was still a new transformation to him, for him, at that time. Using it against the more dangerous androids caused more stress than it was worth, and future Trunks is ironically to blame for this. From this moment forward, one person mentions that the canon response that future Trunks said to Goku, quote, "From this moment you will suffer an illness," end quote, literally means from that moment on was when Goku could have been infected from the disease. Exactly when from that point after is anyone's guess. Knowledge is a deadly thing. An in-depth theory from a person says that Goku got the virus the moment he entered South City to first search for the androids. The person says that Goku might have gotten it through the air breathed by the people from the city. The person points to the fact that if you read the manga or see the anime, Goku is fine up until he enters the city, then he slightly begins to feel out of it, and then nearly collapses during the fight with 19 and 20. The person comments that anyone in the city could have passed it on to Goku. Thus, it's impossible to know who can infect or who could be affected. The person says that Goku was destined to die per contradiction from future Trunks 6 months after the battle with 19 and 20. They theorize that Goku traditionally lived in a distant mountainous location, so any potential contact to a virus would not be theoretically possible because he lived so far away. Added to this, the people that he was always almost near with, like Chi-Chi, Krillin, Yamcha, Bulma, Master Roshi, Turtle, Puar, Tien, Lunch, the Ox King, and even Piccolo, wouldn't be transmitting the virus to him because he had so much contact with them. The person theorizes that since future Trunks did not mention the heart virus to Goku, he would have not been training so much after the fight with Mecha Frieza. Hence, he would have done nothing more than usual training and just enjoying time with his family and friends for a change. Thus, when the virus and the androids happening at the same time, it was a double impact that he could not come back from. This makes very much sense because once future Trunks told this information to the others, everyone was shaken very badly by this. Basically, it's as if someone told you that you will die in 6 months. Wouldn't you try to change your own fate? The person finishes his theory by saying that it was impossible for Goku to avoid the virus. Just that future Trunks is telling him about it only delayed the effects of it. He says that knowledge was a deadly thing for Goku and the Z soldiers. He lastly mentions that the virus wasn't exclusive to Goku, that a whole lot of people were infected. Goku was just one of millions in the alternate timeline, and this was another reason why the androids were able to take over the world so easily. Potential resistance besides the Z soldiers is effectively gone. 6 months filler. Another person comments that when future Trunks mentioned Goku would die in 6 months is an anime filler. In the manga it was commented that, quote, "Goku will grow ill soon from now and die," end quote. He theorized that Goku dies shortly after returning to Earth. He commented that when Goku fought 19 in the changed timeline, his symptoms became more apparent because of the intensity of the fight. Goku originally fought Mecha Frieza and possibly didn't need to use much effort because of the power difference between the two, and because the virus was at an earlier, less intensive stage of infection. As for how Goku was infected, he theorized that Goku got it as the result of a sexually transmitted disease. He theorized that Goku was infected before future Trunks changed the timeline. Using what he said of STDs and how they usually manifest 5 to 10 years from initial infection, he put the time of when Goku was infected being that of around the first time he was revived with the Dragon Balls, right before Vegeta and Nappa first came to Earth, as he maintains that the virus could not have been revived with him, so he got it after he sacrificed himself to stop Raditz with Piccolo. Home. This person theorizes that without future Trunks to change the timeline, Goku would have eventually known that he was about to die. Hence, he wanted to die at home. With the future Trunks had the flashback, everyone was at Goku's house when Gohan was running to see his father. His mother and grandfather, Chi-Chi and the Ox King, shook their heads, and Gohan knew that he was gone. Everyone was shocked. Even Vegeta, that the greatest fighter to have ever lived, would just die so suddenly. The person theorized that there was nothing Goku could have done to change this. So he thought by dying at home, Goku would finally free the world from the constant curse of being attacked because of him being there. Immune system. A person comments that they once read that the Saiyajin have weak immune systems, as a trade-off for their potentially great strength and power. These were just some of the theories that I found upon my research for this Japanimation video. Some of them were very well thought out, and others were just random thoughts from users. What do those listening and watching now think? Do you have a theory about the heart virus? This video might be updated if new theories are found, or information made canon. But it remains doubtful. Such an event was easily forgotten during Z, and such an event is hardly worth mentioning now.